how BTS Army changed fandom culture. And I will tell y'all, can I give you guys from my perspective how BTS Army has changed the way that I look at fandoms is like, I guess it's not so much like, I mean, BTS Army, whenever I first got into it, is like something completely different from like any other type of fandom that I've ever been a part of. But then on top of that, like BTS and just the amount of content is different for me, because a lot of the stuff that I've ever watched has always been, my favorite metal bands have only put out like maybe a DVD if you're lucky. And there's really like very slim behind the scenes stuff. They might do like a making of the album thing, but they never do the things that BTS does, like the Run BTS episodes and all those things. Very cool. Boom. Maybe, yes.
Every couple of months, I see a discussion of which fandom is the best fandom. And every single time, fandoms would name a crazy thing they did as one of the most legendary things that happened in pop culture. And these legendary moments are almost always related to some kind of invasion of privacy. For example, Affinity Magazine made a list of the One Direction fandom's most legendary moments. And all of the examples are interesting. But this is the fandom's #1 moment. One Directioners hacked into airport and hotel security cameras just to watch the members of One Direction. And the fandom...
Would y'all say that was an epic fandom moment, or like a creepy, horrible thing that their fandom did? I don't know that that's a good fandom thing. Hijacked into the security cameras of a major airport to watch the boys sit in a terminal. Meanwhile, the FBI couldn't even conduct thorough interviews for this investigation. Jeez, I don't think that that's actually a good thing. I don't know. I don't think that's good.
That these are their most legendary moments. They are a #Throwback Thursday. These are moments they are proud of. This is proof they invented fandom. It's moments like this that made them the most iconic fandom.
Okay, thank you all for agreeing with me. I just like, is that Soju talking?
Is the best fandom? It's usually a competition of which is the craziest fandom. I think it's because fandoms usually have the idea that the crazier the fandom acts, the bigger the fandom will be perceived. These type of fandoms are known to not only be
thank y'all. I was agreeing.
but also
I think
so crazy that they are considered some type of disease. It was the Beatlemania, the Justin Bieber fever, the One Direction infection. And as you can see, this negative image that media and the general public puts on big fandoms ends up convincing them to own their bad reputation, to even be proud of it. That was until the BTS fandom became the biggest fandom.
It's safe to say that ARMY are the most powerful fandom in the world. And the thing that brings them together? Their complete devotion to 7 men from South Korea and their unique message.
There's this common perception that the BTS Army and K-pop fandoms in general are extremely toxic. And the first problem I have with this idea is that BTS's fandom is being combined with a bunch of other fandoms that are not related to BTS. They are actually known to team up to compete against BTS's fandom. In reality, and generally speaking, Army reflects BTS's message, a message that K-pop groups, pop artists, and their fandoms lack. Of course, artists don't have to have a message, but BTS was socially conscious since their debut, leaving a clear impression on their fans and creating some kind of fandom etiquette.
Can I just say that that's actually the reason that I am a fan of this band? Like the big reason that I first got into them in the first place is like their message behind their music. Because for me, like every band that I've ever really been a fan of, I get into, like, I like music, obviously. There's some bands like Sleep Token, for instance. Their message and their lyrics, that's really just abstract and obscure and kind of crazy, but just, it's whatever. Their message doesn't really mean that much to me as much as their music. Their music's really freaking good, and it's interesting. His vocals are amazing. So, like, those things got me into that band, but it's not something that will, like, stick for a long time. If I just like music, just the music, I'll listen to it until I get burned out of it, and then I'm like, all right, cool. But something like BTS, like the message behind the music, that's what gets me actually hooked into a band, and then that's how I get stuck with that band for a while, because those messages, like what the song's about. Do you remember when their message reached you? For sure, yeah. Like for me, one of the first things that actually got me was Epiphany by Jin. And that was the song that I was kind of worried about because like it was just vocal line. So vocal line for me, I was like, it seems like it's going to be more poppy and I'm not really into pop music very much. So that was the thing that I was nervous about. But then whenever I heard Epiphany, I was like, damn, pop music can actually carry a very deep message and something that I needed to hear at the time. And so like that was a changing moment for me being a fan of theirs. And then life goes on. like that reaction for me, the reason that it got that out of me is because like, man, whenever even like talking about it, I'm like, oh God. But like the reason that life goes on got me so much is because I was like thinking about, for me, like how much I was afraid that we were going to lose like all the live performances and how much we were going to lose all these things during COVID. I was personally struggling with that a lot. Like it got me to where I was like having a hard time sleeping at night because I was like, how is the world going to go back to what I thought it was like before, you know? And so whenever I watched the Life Goes On thing and I was seeing like the end of the video of Life Goes On and it was like all talking about the pandemic and the time for the pandemic of them. And at the end of the music video, they were playing for like an empty crowd. And I was like, oh God. And then the live performance, I was like, please, let's see a live performance. And the live performance that Meg actually had for us was like a pre-recorded televised thing. And I was like, no. And it was like the first time that I'd ever gone off script kind of, and by off script I mean like off the actual list, and found my own live performance. I just had to find something of them playing live, and whenever I found them playing it live in front of a crowd, in front of Army again, it just brought that emotion out of me. So I actually like started crying on stream, and it's like the first time I think I've ever cried on like any freaking reaction, any time in public probably that I ever cried. And but I was like, man. But it was just like that moment. That's why that was such a big reaction for me, is because I remember my own fears during the pandemic and like how I thought it was not going to come back. And now I'm so blessed. Like I do not take live shows and concerts for granted anymore. But Epiphany was the first thing that really the message got to me. But yeah, that's what keeps me as a fan for BTS.
Artists don't have
and
to have
they
message,
have amazing
but BTS
music.
was socially conscious since their debut, leaving a clear impression on their fans and creating some kind of fandom etiquette. This
Concerts
fandom
where I feel the
etiquette
most
did not
live.
come as a
100%
list of
agree with
rules
that,
that
Flowers.
only
Same
must
here.
follow. It was simply a consequence of the fandom understanding the message of BTS's music and their actions as people. Of course, I'm not saying that every single BTS fan is not toxic. There have been concerning invasion of privacy cases involving BTS. The difference is that this is not something the fandom celebrates. It's actually condemned and the exception to the rule. Actually, these toxic moments are talked about and called out within the fandom so much that it may feel like they happen all the time. But compared to other fandoms who encourage it and are proud of it, the BTS ARMY proves that they, maybe involuntarily, created a shift in fandom culture. ARMY is probably the first big fandom who doesn't want to be recognized as a mania or a fever or an infection, but just a group of people who not only
Epiphany
practices
for me too.
respect, but
such a
also
beautiful song,
actually
man.
does productive things for BTS, each other, and the world. There's obviously going to be some toxic ones who don't represent the majority, but in the case of ARMY, the toxic side is microscopic compared to the majority non-toxic side. Just think about it. The BTS ARMY is bigger than every K-pop fandom combined. BTS's behind the scenes YouTube channel has 74 million subscribers. Their Instagram has 72 million followers. Their 2 Twitter accounts have around 50 million followers each, and their recent TikTok account has around 60 million followers.
This is a very new video, is it not? Because like it just had face up. That's freaking crazy. I didn't know that this was like such a new video.
Argue that not all of these people are going to be
It
ARMY.
dropped today?
Some can be
Holy
casual
crap.
listeners or curious people from the general public. Maybe you only want to count the 15 million fans dedicated enough to pay for the official BTS ARMY annual membership. Of course, this excludes a lot of dedicated ARMYs who are not able to pay for the membership or that won't get the benefits because of their location or other factors. But still, if you only want to count these 15 million fans paying for the membership, you won't see 15 million toxic BTS fans. That would be insanity. But even if, let's say, you come across 1,000 very toxic fans who are extremely loud, they would still be less than 0.01% of the fandom with the membership. But there are millions of others who are not. So the percentage is even less than that. My point is that the overwhelming majority of ARMYs represent a fandom that pop culture has never seen before. As a consequence of following BTS's message, the BTS ARMY not only rejects the stereotype of a crazy historical fandom, but also proves with actions that they are different. Here are only some of the examples that show how the BTS ARMY changed fandom culture.
Okay, really quick before she gets in that, I do want to talk about this for just one whole second. Literally, I have only seen love from BTS ARMY, and as far as some of the toxic stuff, I have had like maybe a couple whenever I first started doing like other reactions that were not necessarily just BTS stuff. This channel started out, it's not just like a reaction channel. It was a lot of different things too. That's the only time that I ever saw like toxicity come out from different toxic part of like ARMY and stuff. And I totally understand it. I know that a lot of reactors out there will like do a lot of reactions of BTS and try to like build their numbers up, and then they just ghost BTS like it didn't ever mean anything to them. And I don't know. I hate that even happens to the fandom, and I hope that I've like, I guess like to anybody that thought that I'm like that, like maybe proved myself away from that. But like, so I get where their hate was coming from is what I'm trying to say. That's the only toxic stuff I've ever seen from the fandom is like people that were like, oh, he's just using BTS. I'm like, no, not really. I don't know why, what. And so either way, that's the only toxicity that I've ever seen. And I know that there is like solo stands and stuff like that will say stuff. I haven't ever experienced that type of stuff. And if I do, I'm just kind of like try to be like a duck and let it roll off my back, you know? But for like 99.9% of all the interactions I've ever had with other fellow BTS ARMY, it's always been love, man. And it's been uplifting. And even for my friend Chris, who I've brought into my BTS reactions, everybody has like loved him too and made him feel more confident in himself. So thank you guys. Like those things are awesome. It's one of the reasons I love watching you. See, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is an unspoken rule about being an ARMY. Their personal lives are not of our concern. This is way more common with small or medium fandoms, but the very big fandoms that ruled pop culture, especially during the internet era, treated artists' personal information as facts every fan should know. I remember that back then, to call yourself a real fan of any mainstream artist, you will have to know everything about their personal lives. There were guides to know their parents' and siblings' names, information and other kind of details of the artist's personal lives. It was a thing that would come up on the popular Are You a Real Fan quizzes. But in general, BTS's fandom doesn't really care and even condemns fans digging up their personal information. The only personal information we celebrate is their birthdays. But that said, most ARMYs don't know and don't care to know about the members' family members and their lives. If anything, ARMYs are more likely to say that real ARMYs need to know BTS's music and legendary key points of their story in the music industry. But ask the most ARMY of ARMYs how many siblings a certain member has, and you won't get an answer from them. Ask what are the names of the member's parents to an ARMY, and they will tell you that that's not public information.
That's so freaking cool, man. I love that.
Protected the privacy of their non-famous friends and family members. So it's an unspoken rule that ARMY doesn't need to know about these details of their personal lives. You may think it's obvious to not care about these details. You may think it's obvious to prioritize the music over other things. But in the world of crazy big fandoms, ARMY normalized this big shift.
Another fan-led initiative was also outside Citi Field, handing out purple ribbon wristbands. They serve as reminders to concertgoers to be respectful to their fellow ARMYs.
One of the most uncontrollable moments for ARMY is when some fans, the paparazzi, and the general public go see BTS at airports or their private schedules.
Okay, can we talk about that really quick? Like them going to the airport and stuff like that? Okay. I've always said this, like my wife's always like, I've seen a lot of people that I grew up really respecting, like musicians and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of musicians that I really love. I've like met a lot of my idols growing up and stuff. I feel like I probably would fangirl a little bit, okay? I would definitely, but I think I can, like, at this point in my life, I could definitely keep it under control. But I'm not like mad at the people that like freak out and stuff like that whenever I probably like this paparazzi dude like that's right there trying to take a picture of him in front of like this. I'm not a huge fan of like some of these paparazzi people. I don't have anything against them, I don't guess, but I just feel like, you know, and respect their privacy. But if you saw them out in public and you're like, that's JK or that's my bias or that's this person and you freaked out, who could really blame you? It's freaking crazy. Like, even I recently saw Joe Gatto from freaking Impractical Jokers. I recently met him. Seeing him in real life got me kind of nervous. I was like, oh my God, like I've been watching this dude for years now. So like I can see where, you know, if you saw them at an airport or if you saw them somewhere like that and you just freaking lose it for a second, I totally get it. So I don't hate those people. I don't hold that against them. I don't think that's a bad thing or anything like that. But, you know, in the same sense, there's some parts where it's like, dude, just you know, like maybe don't track them down if they're going to be at an airport. Like let them walk. They should be able to enjoy like food somewhere. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, if I saw you on the street, I'd freak out too. Natural reaction. Tommy, if I saw you on the streets, I'd freak out. I'd be like, that's Tommy. But I would definitely freak out. If I saw one of the members, I don't think I'd be like, I wouldn't scream or anything like that. But I would, like, I don't know. Like, I want to tell them that they mean, like, you know, like they've helped me out a lot. I want to be able to communicate that with them. I would internally scream, but leave them alone, still peak quiet. Yes, I 100% agree. That's what I would do. But I would really want to be able to, like, if I ever got a one-on-one conversation with them, you don't necessarily need to be like, you've changed my life. Oh my God, I love you. I'd be like, dude, you have meant so freaking much to me. You've like put a huge impact on my life. That's how I'd like to think that I was, but that's not always the way that you are. It's just hard to contain yourself sometimes.
It can be even worse and more dangerous than what it already is. But there have been moments that really show how ARMY changed a part of fandom culture involving privacy and the artist's safety. For example, when BTS started getting massive worldwide popularity, it became extremely difficult for the BTS members to walk through airports, even with tons of security guards. So ARMY organized the Purple Ribbon Project, in which armies in the front row form a barrier with purple ribbons to prevent BTS, other fans, and the airport staff from getting mobbed.
How freaking cool is that?
Purple ribbons for the security. So like they, put all the way around us through in the airport and outside the airport.
And that's just ARMY doing this.
For us. Like they did it themselves.
This helped a lot with the chaos in 2018, but as the years passed, BTS became bigger and bigger.
It's like when they got to LAX, it was like the Beatles were here. I mean, your fans,
oh
it's
God,
really incredible.
So ARMY's mentality had to and did change. Now, ARMYs encourage others to simply not go to the airport or any other locations where BTS has private schedules. For example,
I wish that they would...
in South Korea, every man has to serve in the military for 18 months. So whenever a famous singer or actor has their military entrance ceremony, fans would go see them, even if the celebrities ask them not to. However, during Jin's military entrance ceremony, he asked fans in an announcement to not visit him at his military entrance ceremony for his safety and the safety of other soldiers. So armies listened and didn't go visit him. This is surprising because it's not only common but expected for fans to go to celebrities' military ceremonies. Of course, the paparazzi are the paparazzi. They didn't listen to Jin's announcement and went anyway, but they were surprised to go to the ceremony and not find the avalanche of fans they were expecting. And you can tell that the paparazzi were shocked from seeing a group of fans for the first time actually listening to the celebrities' wishes.
That is freaking awesome, man. Again, this idea of not going to the airport or other public places where BTS has private schedules may sound obvious and common decency, but before ARMY started encouraging this, other big fandoms saw this type of mobbing as something to brag about. And if some fans told other fans to not go see their favorite artists at the airport, there would be a big entitled reaction. But now, the majority of armies encourage others to give BTS their space. And there have been multiple occasions of ARMY accidentally finding the BTS members in different parts of the world and not saying anything until the BTS members are back in South Korea or post their travel pictures themselves. In return, BTS thanks every time armies have pretended to not know them in public and have kept the location a secret. Okay, really quick, just wanted to say this. Like, NF is going to be in Nashville at a CD signing, which I feel like is a little bit different of a setting because he's literally saying, hey, I'm going to be signing an album. You guys come out. I would like to meet y'all. So he's inviting his fandom to come out. I'm going to be there. It's this Friday. But like, I feel like it's a little bit different and I'm hoping that it's not just like a crazy mob of people. I'm thinking I'm going to get there like an hour early or something and hopefully actually be able to just meet him, get an album signed and be like, dude, you're freaking awesome. But like, I feel like that's different. You know what I mean? And it would really bother me to see like him get completely flogged by people like that. Like that just, I don't know why, but they're still people, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I really love about ARMY is it just seems like they respect the person behind the music. I think that's really important.
The The BTS ARMY is probably the most self-organized fandom. There were times when concert venues were simply not ready for the magnitude of a BTS concert. Here are only two recent examples. When BTS performed at SoFi Stadium in LA in 2021, the organization from the staff was so bad that armies were still outside of the venue after the concert had already started. The fans had to do their own crowd control, despite asking the venue multiple times to increase safety measures. But the venue still had this bad organization for other future events where people got badly injured, making many believe that the reason why there were no serious injuries or accidents during the 4 BTS concerts was because of ARMY's self-organization. These 4 concerts were attended by 70,000 ARMYs in each day. BTS also had a one-day free concert in the city of Busan in South Korea in 2022. This concert was organized by the city, which received multiple complaints for their lack of organization and preparation for a free BTS concert. The only reason why the event was not a complete mess was because of BTS paying out of pocket for more safety measures.
아시아드 주경기장이나 부산 국제 락 페스티벌이 열리는 흠락 생태공원 등을 검토했지만 10만 명을 수용하려면 이곳이 가장 적절하다고 판단했습니다.
And ARMY being respectful to one another. BTS and ARMY's efforts for safety were recognized only after other massive festivity in South Korea was poorly organized by their city, only weeks after BTS's concert.
That was
horrific. One of the
horrific.
biggest tragedies in the country. This type of lack of safety measures can be catastrophic. We saw them happening time and time again. This shouldn't be the public's full responsibility, but sadly, every time the venues are not prepared for a BTS concert, armies take it upon themselves to organize themselves and avoid tragedies.
How
And you
freaking
can
wild
see
is
the
that?
fandom's
That's so
mentality
cool.
as a whole in the little details too. If you've been to any concert or a sport event, you've probably noticed how common it is for the place to become a mess as the event ends. But at the majority of BTS concerts, you will find armies wearing masks out of respect for each other, even if it's not mandatory, using the fandom's light sticks to organize the after-concert traffic, and even leaving the trash organized. These kind of small forms of organization prove that the mentality of the great majority of armies is of respect, not only to the members of BTS, but also to each other.
All right, can we just say, like, I feel like that's definitely something that I would have seen any of the members of BTS doing it themselves as well, too. I can't remember who it was. I think it was like either V or Suga or somebody. I can't remember who it was, but it was at like a signing or it was like after a concert and they were picking up trash and stuff. I think it was on maybe even a Run BTS episode. Was it JK? But how freaking cool is that? Like, it was JK. How freaking awesome is that they are like picking up trash and like helping out the members? And like, even if too, like if you watched J-Hope in the Box, if you watched that, like afterwards, he's going up to, after the listening party, he was going up to everybody and like thanking the staff and stuff. I think it's cool that ARMY reflects so perfectly the message of BTS, and not just the message of. It's one thing to get out there and just say, be kind to people, everybody, be good to everybody, love yourself, be a good person. It's one way to be like, say that, but like showing it. Like you're saying JK at Isaac, JK there, like they show it in their action. So it's not just something that they just say, do this, they show you. And I think that's really cool. Like Magic Shop. They show. Showing, not telling.
ARMY's
Exactly.
respect for BTS and ARMY goes beyond the concern of privacy and safety. ARMYs are generous to each other.
How cool is that?
Acts of generosity include ARMYs giving each other freebies at concerts. These are hundreds of small gifts ARMYs prepare for other
Freebies!
ARMYs
I cannot wait,
for
man.
free, and can include BTS photo cards, stickers, accessories, snacks, bottles of water, and masks.
How
It's
cool!
not a BTS concert without these type of gifts. But these are personal acts of generosity by each ARMY. When ARMYs form a
flowers!
fan-based association,
That's
they can
awesome.
take bigger projects like the Purple Ribbon Project. Different fan bases help ARMYs understand different streaming platforms, music charts, BTS's history and discography. There are also organizations created by ARMY professionals that help guide and inform fans in anything related to medicine, law, engineering, and computer science. There are associations of ARMY tutors of courses like science, languages, math, social science, computer science, and art. All of these completely for free. There are also ARMY social media accounts that buy BTS's paid content and stream it for free or share download files so every single ARMY can watch it, even if they cannot pay for it. This may sound
so
like it's not beneficial to the ARMYs paying for the content or to BTS, but there are still millions of fans buying the paid content and happy to see every ARMY being able to access the paid content. And again, this collective generosity is simply a reflection of BTS's message and actions. There were times when BTS themselves watched unofficial streams on camera and even told ARMYs watching unofficial streams that it was okay to do so. And this generosity by ARMYs is not performative. It's part of the core of the fandom. Look at what happened in a hidden camera experiment. Someone left an unattended BTS merch table at a K-pop flea market, and instead of ARMYs stealing the merch, they ended up paying more than the expected revenue and even donating their own merch to the table.
39,890원이 나왔어요. 아니 어떻게 34만 500원보다 더 나온 거예요? 현장에서 팬들이 직접 굿즈를 기부하신 분들도 있었대요. 우리 방탄소년단이 전 세계에 미치는 큰 가치만큼 우리 아미분들의 행동 또한 정말 멋있다는 생각이 드는데요.
BTS donated a
What was this on? Can someone find that video, please, and send me a link to that? That is freaking amazing that happened. That's one of those things where they say, like, if you want to get rid of like a couch, don't put free couch on it or something like that. Put like $100 couch and someone will steal it. Like, there's that thought process or thought experiment or whatever. But they left this freaking unattended thing. That is so freaking cool. We are the best fandom. ARMY freaking crushing it in the world. That is awesome. If anybody has a link, please drop it somewhere and I will definitely watch it. Flowers said I'll give them to John at the meetup and make him figure out something. If that's okay with you, John. I'm definitely cool with it, but I would love you to help hand them out because, like, you freaking made them and you're an amazing person.
$1 million to Black Lives Matter, and the ARMY was like, yo, if they can do it, we can do it. And they came, like, fans who were already coming out of the pocket to support artists came out of pocket more to support charity. And this isn't the first time they've done this.
Finally,
I love John Cena, by the way.
Cares and respects each other and BTS. They also care about the world. You've probably heard about the one time BTS donated $1 million to Black Lives Matter, and ARMY matched their $1 million donation in 24 hours. But this type of actions happen all the time. ARMY is probably the first big fandom that made donating to charities and volunteering part of their mission.
They wanted to say thank you to me for something, and they organized something like charitable in my name. And part of me was like, why isn't everyone's fans doing this? Imagine if everyone's fans thanked them by organizing charity in their name.
ARMY has participated in thousands of charity projects around the world, including collecting trash, planting trees, donating food and clothes to shelters, and much, much more.
I would love to do
BTS
something
had to
like
cancel
this.
Their entire Map of the Soul tour because of the COVID pandemic, many ARMYs donated the money of their ticket refunds to COVID relief efforts and organizations. When concerts returned, tickets for BTS concerts sold out fast. So some ARMYs who were not able to get tickets donated their ticket money to organizations helping Ukraine. Again, I'm not saying that ARMY doesn't have a toxic side. In a fandom this big, there will always be at least a small number of very loud toxic fans, but they are not the majority, not even close. There's this popular idea that the internet is full of these toxic ARMYs, but I dare you to actually click on their accounts and read what they are actually saying about BTS. I assure you, the toxic fans you come across are not actual ARMYs. They are troll accounts pretending to be ARMY just so people can hate on BTS and their fandom. Like I said, ARMYs are not K-pop stans. Actually, K-pop stans and other fandoms team up to compete against ARMY. This has happened since ARMY became the most powerful fandom in 2017, and as a consequence, BTS became the most successful group. So if we compare ARMY to other global fandoms of similar magnitudes, I would say that ARMY is the fandom that has done the most good. ARMY is the first big fandom who constantly rejects the craziest stereotype from the media and the general public. ARMY goes far and beyond to protect BTS's privacy and personal space, more than any other big fandom. ARMYs hold each other accountable and look for ways to improve the fandom at all times. ARMY cares about each other's safety and is generous to each other and the world. That's how ARMY changed fandom culture. Being the most powerful fandom is not just about having a lot of crazy fans anymore. It's about being part of a productive community. It's more than just repeating a positive slogan. This is why I think the toxic stereotype of ARMY should disappear, because it's extremely misleading.
The ARMY they're great. Also, they're so poorly represented in culture as these like fangirl, crazy, like mindless, and they're the opposite. They're like intelligent, they're funny, they're tasteful, they're charitable.
There has
This
never
makes
been
me
a
like her
fandom
so much
community
more,
like
man.
this, and the world should see it for what it actually is.
I loved this video so freaking much. Oh my god, that's a JP Morgan, the man who owns America. Either way, that was freaking awesome. Such a great video. I didn't know that it was so new. That was beautiful. But I would love to organize something in Tennessee. So if we know other Tennessee armies out there, I know for sure there's at least two. There's two that I know of. I would love to do some freaking army charitable thing in Nashville. We should definitely come up with a cause. And if anybody wanted to come help, maybe we could do like a food run or something like that. I would absolutely love to do something charitable in the name of BTS Army in my hometown or in my home state and just do something cool. I would love to do that. That would be a lot of fun.